is the F and S of nature. Now, I know you're wondering, what is the F and what is the S, right? I know you are. I know you're wondering that. So the F and S is first and second. So when we talk about what comes first and what comes second, the first thing that comes to my mind is the old adage, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Aha. So let me ask you, what do you think? How many of you think the chicken comes first? Raise your hand, raise your hand. Okay. So who thinks the egg comes first? We can't see you, Reverend Sally. So the egg or the chicken? How many think the egg comes first? Okay, so it's about half and half. Well, guess what? That's always been the question as to what it comes first or what comes second. And it never seems to get resolved. It doesn't really matter, does it? It's really just a matter of perspective. But of course, I had to look and see, okay, what is this all about? What does the Bible say anything about it? You know, what are the questions that help us as human beings identify, okay, is this chicken or egg story? Is this a clue to give us an insight as to how to view life? What comes first? What comes second, the chicken or the egg? So in some creationists believe that on day 5 of creation, every winged bird of its kind was created, and mature birds with the ability to reproduce. So that's from Genesis 1:21. So there, the bird is what came first versus the egg. Then there are the creator that has designed the immense diversity within genetics of its original kinds. With this diversity that has been passed along from parent to offspring, most likely a non-chicken bird eventually laid an egg containing a chicken. So technically speaking, it's very likely that the egg came first. Okay? Whose perspective resonates with you is really the bottom line, right? So what comes first and what comes second? The F and S of nature. First versus second. So let's start with the letter F. And we're talking about this whole idea of being spiritual. There is this gardener who is the human who is working in the soil. And he is starting with what? A seed. And he is working with that seed in the soil. So what comes first for the gardener, as mentioned in the story, is the seed. Well, there's the F in first represents being fertilized. The seed has to be fertilized, right? Fertilization is a process that every living thing goes through. It is the process that produces its own kind. Some animals start out as eggs. Some fish start out as eggs. And as a human experiencing life on this earth, what comes first in your life? Ernest Holmes says, there is a universal mind, spirit intelligence, that is the origin of everything. It is the first cause. It is God. This universal life and energy finds an outlet in and through all that is energized, and through everything it lives. So let's breathe that knowingness in. I am an outlet through which God is energizing me. I am an outlet. So let's just close your eyes and say that I am an outlet in which God is energizing me. So if we just breathe that idea in, that the first cause is how Ernest Holmes speaks of it, and teaches that the first cause is recognizing that God is all there is and running through everything. So if I'm an outlet, what is the first outlet for me as this human having experience? It's our thought. So what comes first? The thought is your first thought, that of knowing that I am one with it and it is one with me. What seed that is planted in me am I using? Now, when I think about what comes first, based on where I am in the letter F, you know I had to go to faith. So faith for me is where I am living from, that I am an outlet for the first cause. Now, my dear teacher is on the line, so I have to talk about this. There's a difference, and she taught me this. There's a difference between faith in God and the faith of God. Well, if I am that one, that seed that is within me, I have the faith of God because I am the outlet that God is expressing through. Faith in God says God's out there somewhere and I'm believing in it up in the sky somewhere. But that's not who we know we are. We are the outlet for the divine. So therefore, I have the faith of God. Whew, well, let me tell you, I've been tested these last 3 months. My faith of God and knowing that I am an outlet has been an opportunity for me to continuously know, because some of my yeses that I thought were yeses have been no's, but my faith, I hold on to the first cause. I have to keep my mind stayed on thee to know that I am one with it and it is one with me. That is the faith of God. Okay, so now we move from the F, the first cause of faith, to the I in first, which is interconnectedness. As we explore the wonder of nature, we know that the gardener is planting the seeds and he's fertilizing it. But let's stop and think about all the amazing creatures that live on this planet, some of which we've never even seen before or even heard of. But we must consider that the interconnectedness of all life is the outlet expressing as God, as plants, as animals. So we have to be cognizant and let our eyes be open and notice the furry ones, the fuzzy ones, the slimy ones, and even the scaly creatures that we share the planet with. Once again, the F and the S, right? The fuzzy, furry, slimy, scaly creatures, the F and S of nature. So I know some of you have pets, and I know Robert's holding one in his lap right now, and he's a fuzzy one. So of your pets, do you feel the interconnectedness? Do you feel the divine expressing in them? Do you see their soul? Is there a connection between you and your pet, the fuzzy one? We all acknowledge that each animal is an expression of the divine. So we know that there's this interconnectedness. We enjoy the beauty of the animals. Some people go fishing and they put them back. But if they don't, then what do? They ingest the fish. So when we talk about first, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, And a lot of our counterparts that we share this planet with, the egg comes first. Now, I have to say, one of my favorite kindred animals is actually an insect, and it's the butterfly. The butterfly is one of my favorite insects because it has so much more meaning. But as the butterfly turns into the butterfly, there's a process that it goes through. First, it's an egg, then it goes to larva, and then it goes to what's called a pupa, and then it becomes the moth or the butterfly. When we look at our scaly creatures, they start out as an egg to an embryo to a larva, then they become a fish. So they're going through this process. And then the furry ones, right? You've got your puppy, adolescent, adulthood, and as a senior. So there is a 4-stage process that we go through. What comes first? What comes second? What comes third? What comes fourth? Even we've talked about here, and Reverend Elizabeth brought it up, that Reverend Michael Beckwith puts us as spiritual beings, that there is 4 stages of awareness. Y'all remember this? Y'all remember the 4 stages, right? First being to me, living from the place of victimhood. The second being by me, making sure that I am using the laws. 3, through me. And 4, as me. So am I truly feeling the interconnectedness of spirit? Am I internalizing all of what I know to be true? I'm going to tell you, I've been through all 4 stages in the last 3 months. All 4, some even in the same day. So we go through the process. So we first talked about faith and first cause. The interconnectedness is the I. The R is a reflection. So when we talk about being a reflection, we know that the reflection, we're seeing the image that we're viewing. So what seeds have you planted? What eggs are you truly living from to be a reflection? Am I being a reflection of the divine? Am I truly reflecting love, peace, joy, calm? I am a reflection of the calmness of the divine. So the R in the word first is reflecting. And when I think about reflection, I have to share an experience because I've been going from one home to another. And so I'm coming into different people's lifestyles, and I am recognizing the difference in lifestyles. Some of my friends are ingesting these drama reality shows. That's what they're feeding on, right? And I watch some reality shows, maybe one, okay? But it's not every week. But there are people who save reality shows. They're saving them and watching them over and over again. What comes first? What is the gardener sowing in the mind? What amount of time are we feeding ourselves the spiritual nature of who we are? Because that is going to be the reflection of who we are. I know that I have had to stay in those moments of remembering who and whose I am. And we all are going through the phases of living this particular life. So if everything is spiritual and everything in back of it is a spiritual twist, I have to accept that all of my experiences over these last 3 months is an opportunity for me to stand in the knowingness that spirit and I are one, and everything is unfolding perfectly in divine right order, whether I know it or not. That's the first cause of it all. So we got to the F, faith, right? The I, interconnectedness. The R, I am being a reflection. And the S, a reflection of spirit. Spirit speaking. When I think of the spiritual aspect of my being, I know that I must focus on that. I must know, as Louise Hay, the book Heal Yourself, that behind everything that happens, there is a spiritual opportunity for my knowing. As above, so below. So each experience that I have, there's a spiritual aspect to it. And then I have to trust, which is the T in first. I have to trust and never be afraid, because I know that I am trusting an unknown future to a known God. That is trust. So when I think about the F and the S of nature, the first cause, my faith, my interconnectedness with all beings on this planet, I must be a reflection of understanding that I am connected to all that is. And I spiritually trust all is unfolding. I am relying on God. That is a fact. I must trust, trusting in the fact that God has it. The F is natural, right? It is the nature of me, the first cause of me. So when we stop and think about first cause, the first, I am it. The second, first, the second is the second nature of me. I am the I am. And that is coming naturally for me. So the S allows me to know that I am a spiritual being having a human experience, right? The second aspect, the second piece for me is the spiritual piece of who I am. I've activated my faith. I've internalized my interconnectedness with spirit, with life, with animals, with plants. So now the second, the E in second, is now I'm able to evoke from the inside out, not invoke from the outside in, but I'm able to evoke the spiritual aspect of my being, because I am a spiritual archaeologist. How about that? Y'all like that one? Say that. I am a spiritual archaeologist from the inside out. We are moving through the kingdoms of awareness, as Michael Beckwith spoke to. And as we mentioned, sometimes I'm in the first stage, sometimes I'm in the second, the third, and the fourth. So when I think of the second aspect, my second nature, it's really my first, the F and the S of nature. So moving right along in the word second, the C, because my consciousness is the key to my growth as I move through this life as a spiritual being. I move into knowing my O, the oneness with all of nature, the plants, the animals, the scaly ones, the fuzzy ones. because that is naturally the nature of the divine. The nature of the divine, the N and the D. So when we talk about second, it is spiritually evoking the consciousness of oneness with nature and all of life. The divine is the outlet. Closing, I want us to stop and think that we explore the wonder of nature. Let us consider all of the amazing creatures that live on this planet, many of which we've never even seen or heard, from the very large to the small. Are we awake to the amazing animal kingdom? Are we awake to our spiritual beingness? This same intelligence that created the stars and the galaxies also created all of life on planet Earth. Over time, humankind has learned that other creatures possess different levels of intelligence, but we've all gone through the same fertilization process, just as spiritual beings having this human experience, we go through the four kingdoms. It is how we communicate with ourselves first, with God first, then ourselves. It becomes second nature to us. We must not forget that planet Earth shares similar DNA from one common source, the divine. We go through this same process. Here we are now presented with, what is it that you believe? Are there misconceptions or biases, or do we really embrace our oneness with all life? What comes first, the chicken or the egg? We live on Earth, but are we living as one with all of nature, in harmony with the planet? If we truly believe that God is all there is, then let us live in a place that reflects that truth. Let us move from just saying words to understanding how truth shows up in our lives, and to finally making a daily sustainable life. The FNS of nature, the first cause, using our faith, knowing that we are interconnected and we are reflecting our spiritual sense, and trusting in the divine, that spirituality is our second nature, not really, but first cause. That we evoke the consciousness of oneness with nature and all of it that is divine. It is the second nature, the instinctive behavior, knowing that I am interconnected with the divine. Michael Pollan said, I am a gardener. I am realizing my interconnectedness with the divine.